Technology, diversity, wine, the redwoods, and everything in between. Welcome to the Northern California Bay Area, and one show takes you inside the real estate that makes it all happen. This is By the Bay.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to By the Bay. I'm your host, Megan Ancheta, and I'm really grateful that you are here. Please do like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever else you might be listening or watching this. I have my lovely wife, Megan, is back on the show. Hey, honey.
Hi.
And it's the beginning of summer. Actually, tomorrow is the last day of school.
Yes, it is.
And I wanted to have you on the show and just kind of talk about how we manage our crazy life in summertime and like being able to do things, but still kind of focusing on the business and finding that balance. And I think it's something that we struggled with and have kind of worked through consistently kind of over time. So I know that there are times where we are definitely out of balance, and I feel like we were doing a really good job balancing both and keeping both as a priority. So I wanted to, have you back on, and you don't need to by this point, I don't think you need to introduce yourself. Everyone knows, no introduction. The lovely and talented Megan Ancheta is here. So summertime, we have a pretty full calendar.
Yes, it's bonkers.
It's bonkers. As the kids would say, it's bonkers bananas.
It's bonkers bananas.
Yes.
It's a banana sandwich. But I keep it full intentionally because, as we repeat often, the freedom is in the routine.
Right.
So I've got to keep the schedule rolling so that everything is kind of spaced out so that we don't just wake up every morning and try to figure out what we're going to do that day.
Right. I think you've done a really amazing job like planning ahead and creating those routines and creating opportunities so that, we can balance our businesses and balance our home life and spend time together as a family and still have those experiences where we're traveling a bit and going places and, and doing the summertime thing. Right.
Yeah.
But it's also the busy season for home buying.
It is the business busy season.
Right.
It's high season.
It is high season for everything.
Which is a great time for 3 kids to be out of school.
Correct. No, it's great
that
3
aligns
kids.
Perfectly,
yes,
actually.
Absolutely.
Very much in harmony.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So like one of the things I really admire about the way that you kind of run our household is that like you create opportunities, you create schedules for, for the kids to be engaged in things and going to camps, but also like spending a lot of time in close proximity together, right? There's a lot of time that we're spending with all 5 of us together, even though you and I are both kind of running the mortgage business and, making the stuff happen in the background. So kind of talk about, if you would, like share like some of our experience about how we found that balance and like the tools and resources and stuff that we use to help create those opportunities to have that quality family time, but also, be focused on growing our practice.
Right. One of the biggest things about this industry that I think drew you at first was that you could be with the kids. You could be home. We could take vacations. We could have the flexibility to do things. And the other side of that is that then you're kind of always working. So just the other day, you had put in about 12 hours. And I'm sure that you had some downtime in there. You weren't working 12 hours straight, but it was a long time. It was like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. where you were taking calls and sending emails and responding to texts. And there was a lot to do. But one of the nice things about that is that you can pause in between and come do dinner. So even if your work isn't done, you can do dinner. We can get the kids in the bath and support each other there. And then you might have to pop over and take a call. And I'm brushing teeth. So it is a lot of handoffs. It's a lot of baton passes for us. So over the summer, with in mind that they don't have a consistent schedule with school, I thought, let's get them some consistency in activities that they can do, but we can do with them. And so one of my favorites is to go to the Children's Museum. They have a great membership program, but what's also very nice is if you can't afford memberships to these places, you can always get free tickets through the library, which I think is underutilized.
That's really cool. It's like through the Sonoma County Library.
Any library because our listeners maybe are not only in Sonoma County,
sure.
But in any, as far as I know, California library, any county library in the state of California, you can get free passes and tickets to places like museums and parks. You can get a free parks pass if you want to go hiking, take your kids out to the ocean. It doesn't have to cost you anything. You can get that through the library, and your library card is free. So we utilize that a lot. We're in and out of the library. We go to the library once a week. We do their reading program, which keeps us on track with our school goals, especially because our kids are in a dual immersion school, so they need to practicar español y inglés.
Yeah, it's really cool because they're both learning to read right now, right? They're like really getting into that. And it's really fun to see them, learning how to read in Spanish and in English, and just like how that world is opening up to them, right? So this summer we've been talking about like doing that reading program and putting in the hours, right? Like kind of having that part of our daily routine is like, hey, you're going to read a book, like sit there and read a book for a while.
Read a physical book.
Yeah, which is fun.
Yeah. And our kids like to listen to audiobooks, which is also cool, that they can read the companion book. Sometimes we check out a library book, physical copy, and then we borrow the audiobook on Libby, and they listen to it while they read along, because that really helps them comprehend. And we do the library summer reading program. So yeah, it's a lot of what another mom described to me as field trips. I'm doing a lot of field trips. So, a couple times a week we'll go to the Children's Museum. Once a week we'll go to the library. And then I'll join the health club here so that we have access to a swimming pool. We can learn and practice our swimming. And, with all that, that's like 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah.
But we can go and do those things with them. We can go with them to the health club to swim. We can go with them to the Children's Museum. We can go with them to the library.
Yeah. One of the things that I appreciate as you're the primary parent at home, right? Like you're running the household. One of the things I appreciate as the non-household running parent is that you have a routine that you've created, which is like on the calendar. So if I have a gap in my schedule where I can like pop over to the club and even just come sit by the pool and be there while the kids are swimming, even if I have just 20 minutes or 30 minutes, it's really cool to be able just to be a part of the summertime, right? And to have it be routinized and scheduled in a way so that I can, create time in my schedule or just look at it and go, hey, where are they right now? What's going on? And I can just pop in and be there, right? And
totally.
Because like you said earlier, there are days where I'm at the office 7 to 7 or 7 to 8 or 6 to whatever time, right? And that's just how it goes because we're meeting with clients on their schedule. If they're working until 6 p.m., I need to do a consultation at 7 o'clock at night, which is fine. But it's really great because because of the schedule that we've created, I could still be a part of the summertime plans and be around and take an hour out of that 12 hours to go spend some time with the family and see everyone, and be part of those. Like that's what the kids remember, right? They remember going and doing these things. And I never wanted to be the dad who was like, well, I'm the one who makes the money. Like that's not it. Like I want to be part of their lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, they don't really have any concept of money until they're much older, so it doesn't really matter to them. At least with our kids, it doesn't really matter to them how much money you make. They don't qualify that in any kind of way. Right. But when you remember what their third favorite color is, they really enjoy that.
Absolutely. So. That's a critical, and it changes regularly. So yeah, we have to keep our eye on that.
But on the other side, we appreciate how hard you work, and we want to create space in our home life that includes everyone. We don't exclude anyone at home. We have to tell the kids that all the time because that also means your littlest brother. You have to play with him. But we also can't exclude Dada. He gets to come and swim too.
100%. You do have to play with your little brother, even if he sometimes bugs you.
Even if you have to slow way down to play his games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the different. Well, it's interesting because the oldest is 8, youngest is 3, and they play really, really well together, which is cool because they like our 8-year-old will kind of play at a slower pace, and our 3-year-old plays at a much faster pace. So it's
everyone actually plays at the 5-year-old pace.
Right. So the 5-year-old just plays.
Yeah.
And everyone plays.
But because she's in the middle, she automatically assumes she never gets anything, even though everyone's doing it her way.
Her way. Yes, that's a different show, I think, about the child
I could do a whole hour on this.
It is true. I mean, birth order and stuff, and just like we talked about this. We were different parents to our oldest because we didn't have other kids, right? And we were first-time parents, and it was like 2 of us with just her. And there's a different dynamic when you have 2 older children and then a newborn, and just your life is different. Kids who go into school, there's 3 against 2, and it's like it's a different dynamic. So they do, even though it's the same environment. It's a very different experience for each of them.
But they're all very different individuals.
Yeah.
So they need different stuff anyway.
Totally.
I think even if Atlas was an only child, he would have a completely different experience than Matilda as an only child was, because he is completely different.
Yeah.
His little personality. But here nor there, the point is we have to accommodate everyone. And all summer long, as you know, if you've listened to any of my ramblings before, I have 2 years of printed calendars in rotation at all times. And that might seem insane to some, which, fine, fair. But also, I have to write everything down, and I have to see, like, at a glance, what am I going to be doing with everyone this month? Because I am finagling not just 5 schedules, but also the other side of those schedules. So if the girls have a Taekwondo camp week, so they have 2 weeks of camp this year. So not only am I figuring out where the 5 of us are going to be during that time, but then also what's the camp time and what do they need? And so, Atlas, his school starts at 8:15. The camp doesn't start until 9. So I've got to be able to see all those things, because where they go also dictates back what our home looks like.
Right. And then anticipating, because of that schedule, what resources they need, what do they need to bring to those camps, and procuring those things. And it gets so complicated, and it just seems like, it's like everyone's like, oh, summertime, time to relax. It's like, no, this is the busiest time of the year for.
Yeah, I would argue that my time to relax is probably the month of January, like halfway through January to halfway through February, when holidays are over, they're back in school. There's not that many holidays, not many days off, and it's cold and rainy, and I don't want to do anything anyway. That's my off season.
That's your off season. You get 3.5 weeks and it's abbreviated because there are a few Monday holidays. There's a President's Day in there somewhere.
I think that starts like mid-February, though, is what I'm saying. There's there's 3 or 4 weeks there where we mostly go to school.
That's right.
But then on the flip side, then they get sick. So who knows?
Okay.
It's always something with these kids.
So I think, I think we talked about this before, just like the harmony and communication that it takes to like run the business, run the household, be involved, and not miss out on any of those experiences has really been a priority for us. Mm-hmm. And I think that, having like that open discussion, like we have a standing meeting on our calendar every Tuesday to like talk about what's going on in the week and what's coming up in the next week and what's going on in the next number of weeks. I think it's really, really important to, have that communication and to have that kind of standing, because things happen so quickly that if you don't like schedule it and make it a priority, then weeks and weeks and weeks can go by because it gets really busy before you really like connected. Right. Yeah. I think that, if anyone's out there that's like struggling with like, hey, I'm missing stuff, I don't feel involved, I'm feeling disconnected, I would really recommend like scheduling that once a week, like adult parent meeting, right? Yeah. Where you're like talking about all the different things that are coming up in the next week or two, so you can help, participate, and you can help coordinate things and relieve some of like the mental burden. I mean, honestly, I look at it as like there's so much unseen labor that you do running the household, because like you're making sure that the kids have the right size sandals if they're going to go to the pool. Like you're thinking about all these details that I would not consider, honestly. I would get there and go, oh, those sandals don't fit anymore. Okay, we should probably order some new ones. You know what I mean? Like I would be reactive, and you're super proactive in that. And I think that's an important thing to acknowledge, just like the amount of unseen, unrecognized labor and work that you put into running the household is really incredible. And I think it's, there's stuff that I'm doing at the office and things that you don't know that I'm doing because it's part of my primary role.
Right.
But I think it's really cool. And I appreciate how thoughtful you are in curating those experiences for the family and then like doing all of the work to make it happen. Right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I get to show up and be like, okay, I'm putting the suitcases in the car. Let's go.
And they're like, yay, Dad, their hero.
Exactly.
He packed everything.
And I'm like, no, I just took them from the bedroom and put them in the van. Like you made a list. You made a Costco run. You like did all these things to make it all happen. And I think it's important to acknowledge the amount of work that goes into making all this run well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's so funny because it's like you don't, I mean, I don't think, I never anticipated it until we got into it. And now with the kids being the ages they are, little things like finding, and if you're a parent, bear with me, but like finding socks that they will all wear, like finding socks that each of them will wear without complaint. It took me 2 weeks. It took me 2
equal
weeks.
socks. Equal socks is important, right? Because they can't have, someone can't have better socks than the other person.
Well, not just that, but like what meets their individual needs. Because Atlas doesn't like the little seam and Madeline doesn't like the little seam, but Matilda doesn't care. She doesn't feel the seam. But if they're those like terry cloth socks, Atlas doesn't like the texture of those, but Madeline and Matilda don't care. So it literally takes me weeks sometimes. And then now all socks are polyester? ? I don't understand. That's
so
plastic.
If you're a sock manufacturer and you want to do a sponsored, but no.
Bombas, if you can hear me.
Exactly. We're looking for all cotton or
And then,
wool.
natural fiber.
Natural fibers, please. Breathable.
If you have an alpaca, I'll take it. But literally just finding them socks was like, and then of course what happens, they grow and now someone's grown out of the socks. So it is just a never ending hamster wheel of needs. And I really appreciate that we can kind of pass the baton, because there does come a time where I'm like, I cannot make a decision on this. I'm done.
Yeah.
I need to clock out.
Just the other day, you had like 15 tabs open on your laptop.
Which means that there were 65 open in my brain.
Right. And you're like, okay, I can't make a decision on this. I don't know.
I've gotten as far as I
Right.
could.
So let me know what you think the right answer is. And I'm like, okay, this is great, because I don't know how to do I'm not thinking, I think differently than you think.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, help me understand what's the criteria, right? Let's hone this down. We've got 15 options. There's one that we can choose. How do we pick? And I think I appreciate that too. That it's like, hey, I'm looking for this type of material, durability, price point, and I'm like, I'm good at that. Like, I can help synthesize that down. Yes. I don't have the great big idea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, great. Let's look at the details. These are the ones that we're going to go with and order. But yeah, I like the amount of research that you do. I think that's another important thing. It takes so much. Like, we're planning a trip to go to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, you did the whole thing. I get to show up, which I appreciate, by the way. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But like, researching the hotels that are nearby that will accommodate our family of 5, and like all the details that go into
and
that.
not force us to have 2 rooms because I'm not putting the kids in a separate room or
right. And just like looking at all the details and calling the hotel to talk to them and doing all that work, like takes so much effort.
Yeah. It's just a lot of time. It's just a lot of time. Yeah. It's a lot of time and mental energy. And the fun thing is that I get to do it sometimes when 3 people are asking me for snacks, which is why by the time you get home and I've got the 15 tabs, I'm like, I've gotten as far as I can. I cannot plan a single thing more. But even with the Monterey trip, it's like Matilda's old enough to do the tide pool plunge. So I'm thinking we should let her. It's really cold. But then the 2 younger kids can't do it. So now in my head, I'm like, okay, but then that means that we've got to come back to this aquarium 2 more times to make sure that they can all 3 do it. Like, this is how my brain works.
Right.
Because it can't be uneven distribution of activities. I think also you and I are both younger siblings. I don't think that. I know that that's a fact. You and I are both the younger siblings of our family.
Yep.
And it really informs our parenting because we kind of got the short straw a lot of the times in our upbringings, or so we perceive. And we really make sure that, Atlas and Madeline don't miss out, or we don't just have Matilda do something and then they can't do it later. And so I try to keep that pretty equally distributed.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's totally true. I'm the younger brother, and so I have a lot of empathy for Atlas being, he's the girls will be playing, I don't know, whatever, something magic, and he gets to be the horse, and I'm like,
that's true. Sometimes he's the baby horse.
He's the baby
that
horse
they keep as a pet, but sometimes he is a working horse.
Yes, it's a fun game.
He gets to carry things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I think. Thank you for sharing that experience. I think it's really important to talk about and to acknowledge. Just like, I recently won an award for like being a top 1% mortgage originator in the country. I know, yay, Dan, thank you. Cue the applause, thank you.
Proud of you.
And and that's cool. I get to put that up on my social and put that on LinkedIn and all these high fives and stuff for that. That's great, but you don't get an award for all the work that you do behind the scenes. And I just wanted to acknowledge just how much work have our partnership, and while I'm the face of the company and doing all the things, literally none of it is possible without a partner. And I read, someone said, or maybe it was TikTok, probably I said I read it, but it's really from TikTok.
Everybody knew that. That's okay.
Right? Yeah, I do read. The most important decision that you make in your life is not where you go to college or who you your first job or what.
I told you this.
You told me this? Okay. This is so typical, by the way. I read it somewhere, watched it on TikTok. No, Meg told me. This is how most good ideas come to me, is Meg tells me, and then I remember later that she told me this.
You do remember later, and then you think it's this stroke of genius.
This novel idea that I have.
This great idea.
Yes, this great idea. So anyway, Meg told me this thing, that the most important thing is not where you go to college or where you work or anything like that. It's who you choose as your significant other. Significant other is your life partner. Mm-hmm. And I believe that wholeheartedly, right? Because you encourage me, you challenge me, you do all these things to help me to reach my potential, but also you just hold it down. You make stuff happen, and I can always rely on you if I have a crazy idea. The podcast studio we're sitting in. Crazy idea. You're do it. Why not? Make
it was fun. It was a fun idea. It wasn't crazy.
What's the worst thing that can happen? You just go try it.
You didn't have a podcast studio then, so the worst thing that could happen is you still don't have a podcast studio.
Totally.
But then that didn't happen.
Yep.
So
yeah, and it
all worked out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So thank you. I appreciate you, and I love you very much.
My pleasure. And I love my line of work. We always joke, I'm in the classroom a couple times a week in both of our older kids' classes, and looking forward to volunteering when our son gets to public school and doing not all of the PTA stuff. I don't do all of it. I do a handful of PTA things and try to just jump in where I can. And I like the projects, and I like working with the kids and being part of a group and doing all these things. And you thrive in this environment. So I'm really happy to be at home and working on these projects and keeping things going. I love the details, and you're thriving over here, which I think is just, we kind of naturally settled into our preferred places.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think we both found the environment that we thrive in.
Yeah.
And it's a great partnership. I mean, honestly, our skill sets are complementary, and I help you, you help me to be our best selves. Mm-hmm. So appreciate you a lot.
And I did see that on a TikTok about choosing spouse.
Okay, so you told me that you saw it on TikTok.
Yeah, I probably sent you a TikTok.
Probably.
Yeah.
Most likely.
But it was really good. It was really good sound little clip about, this is the person who's going to usher you through many phases of life. This is the person who's going to be building a life with you and supporting you as you go through highs and lows and losses and wins. And you have to make sure that this person is going to be supportive of you wholeheartedly. And I did that. I'm grateful that I did that. I didn't know, but I was like, oh, look, this reaffirms what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But I know we work really hard together, but we've always worked together. We met at work. We continue to work together.
I know.
We've never not worked together.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. That's very true for over 17 years.
Just a scotch over.
That's right. Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show, babe. And
My pleasure.
Always great to have you. And just a quick little episode about our process. And if you're out there and you're struggling to find that balance, get that weekly meeting on the calendar and take it seriously. Take that meeting seriously to talk about what's coming up and sharing your needs and your experience, and then work together to find that balance and that harmony between your home life and your work life. So thanks for being on the show, honey. Love you very much.
My
and
pleasure.
Thanks for checking out the episode.
Yes, and remember that if you need stuff to do over the summer, please pop into the library because they have amazing resources and they're free.
That's right. Support your local library.
Please do.
Awesome. Thanks, babe.
Stay up to date with Bay Area real estate. Hit subscribe now if you haven't already. Did you enjoy this episode? We love reviews in the Apple Podcasts app. We'll read yours on the show. This is By the Bay.
Sound and Ear Media.